You guys, Coffee and Kareem, I want to talk about something that's very dear to my heart. A realization that many of you may not realize right now, but a lot of you in America are slaves. You're homeless, and you're broke, and you're poor, and you have no idea. Come down here. Let's have this conversation. I want you to come on here real quick. Have a little coffee while I'm talking to these folks. You guys, first of all, what do I mean? I mean that in the day when it comes down to it, thank you very much, you guys. Make sure you got coffee. It's Black Wellness, all natural coffee. What I'm saying, you guys, is that when it comes down to it, a lot of you don't even own your own homes. You think you do, but you don't. You owe the bank. You're slaves to the bank. And the odds are you're going to refinance. Something's going to happen. You're not going to have the home when you retire anyway. If that was the case, then why are there so many Americans in old folks' homes for me? And why is that the situation? A lot of you are slaves. You don't even know it. You wouldn't last a week without going to that job. You have nothing saved, nothing invested, nothing you can do. And it's not about the money that you have or don't have. Your lifestyle keeps you a slave. That's what actually keeps you a slave. It's not the money. You're living high on the hog. You're living on all of this stuff. At the end of the day, you have nothing to show for it. You're a slave to the system. Folks around the world with less money, less education and everything, and they're free. And a lot of you who don't understand this, you really think that you own the home or you own this, but at the end of the day, all the stuff that you have, the entrapments of wealth that you have, are keeping you a slave on Plantation America, the okie doke. Look at this, you guys. I want to show you this video. Triggered me a little bit, so I'm thinking it's going to also trigger you. And of course, it's the white guy talking, so you know you'll believe him, you'll listen to him. But check this out. Let me get it going for you.
It costs money. It's not free when you own a home. Understand that it's not rent versus
owning a home costs money. It's not free when you own a home. Understand that it's not rent versus mortgage. Sometimes it's mortgage versus freedom, because people are stupid when they say it's mortgage versus rent. And if you look at the paperwork, you don't actually fucking own the house. You're going to pay 4 times more for it by the time you've paid off the mortgage. And technically, the bank owns the house because the bank's using your house to go borrow even more money out in the ecosystem. So you don't own it. You're a fucking battery for the mortgage company. You're paying that. You're working for the bank. Just be honest about it. At least understand it. Don't go into it thinking you're owning it. You may own it later. Assuming you pay the mortgage off in 30 years, most people die in the house they finally own at 65, right? And then what happens? You've got 2 kids, because this is the other argument. Well, I'm doing it for my kids. I bought a house, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing a job I hate to pay the mortgage, to work for the bank, to own the house so that my kids have a better life, which is beautiful, sounds beautiful. It's a fucking lie as well. Because what actually happens in the reality, the economics reality, right? Most people don't own a home in a trust because it's expensive to run a trust system. They own it in their own name. That's how the banks want it as well, because they can take it off you in your own name. So what happens when you die is inheritance tax in most countries, especially England, 45%. So that house that your parents have managed to pay off, if they have managed to pay it off, and haven't got a mortgage to pay for your fucking university education that you didn't need, let's assume they actually kept it pure and managed to get out of debt. You've got the deposit for the very house your parents have just died in. You have to spend the next 30 years paying that fucking mortgage. It's a treadmill.
It's just a treadmill. Owning a home costs.
You guys, one thing I realized when I was 39 years old after owning over 35 homes. I lived in about 10 of them. I had rental properties with about 25 homes in Kansas City, Missouri with my father. I learned it's a scam. The odds of you owning that home outright in America, not in the Philippines, not in Africa, not in Ghana, in America specifically, the odds are 5 to 10%. That's it. The fact is, I inherited homes. My partners have inherited homes, but the taxes came with them, the expenses came with them, the upkeep came with them, the maintenance came with them, and you heard that around 45% inheritance tax came with them too. So you might as well travel the world. You might as well choose freedom and understand. If you're renting, if you're in a country like me in the Philippines where expats or foreigners can't actually own property anyway, so all you have is 100-year leases, but when it comes down to it, you don't have the expenses, you don't have the tax burdens and the insurance burdens. You can go whenever you want. If you get an opportunity to go somewhere else, you can go. And at the end of the day, 30 years later, when your friends say they own their homes and how many of us out there, you be honest with me, especially expats like myself, 10 million of us, all of my friends hate their homes. All of my friends are upside down in their homes. All of my friends, unless they did it, paid it, and then sold it and got some money. But then when you talk to them about it, yeah, they got $100,000 or $250,000. Okay, they did. But they maintained that house. They upgraded that house. They paid taxes, down payments. They cut the grass. They lived, and they were stuck in that house. They couldn't take opportunities. They couldn't leave the country. None of that. Their kids moved out, so now their kids have mortgages or leases. So all I'm saying is that one thing I realized when I was very young and I wanted to travel and get free and do my business all over the world was that the home ownership thing, especially for Black people, y'all, especially for Mexican people, especially for Asian, Filipino people in America, it's a lie. It's not like in the Philippines where you can literally own something, a piece of property, a building, and no matter what happens, it could be falling apart. The roof could be collapsed, but your kids can take that property and sell it down the road. And I don't even think there is inheritance tax in the Philippines. I don't know. Whatever they got, it ain't as high as 45%. So that whole thing, if your home is what's keeping you there, if your home is what why you're not moving, why you're not traveling, if it's why you're mad that Trump won and you feel stuck, understand this. A home is just slavery for most people. It's a scam. You might want to look at traveling, investing, maybe buying a resort in another country, like I have friends who have done, and you live in the resort when you're there and you travel around when you're not. But at the end of the day, you own a hotel, you own a resort, you don't own a home. I'm not saying property's a scam. I'm saying owning your own home in America right now for most people, especially Blacks and minorities, 90% of the time, it's a scam. That's all I'm saying.